So this month's topic, I'm sure, which is what you all came for and can't wait to hear more about, is what to know about the new Maine retirement savings program. And so you might be following this and you might not, but in June of 2021, there was a law passed, a bill signed into Maine that creates a Maine retirement savings and requires businesses of any size to set up a retirement plan and to set it up in such a way that the employees must opt out. Right. So everyone starts as opt in. And I'm finding that a lot of businesses aren't paying full attention. They want you to. We don't want you to be caught off guard. It's budget season. So we're going to hear more about that today. And I'm so grateful that you came and are taking notes. We'll share information and slides later. So under this program, we're the 9th state in the nation to add it. Our speaker today is Beth Bordowitz. She's the executive director of the Maine Retirement Investment Fund. She previously served as the vice president, legal and administration for the Foreman Acton Educational Foundation from its inception in 2014 through 2018. She served as the CEO of FAME, or the Finance Authority of Maine. She has deep experience and she's been instrumental in the development and implementation of numerous programs, including the state of Maine's venture capital fund and the state's college savings program, the Next Gen College Investing Plan. So help me welcome a woman of great experience and information today, Beth Bordowitz, folks.
Welcome. Good morning, and thank you for having me. I'm going to actually start with a couple of questions. So how many here work for a place or run a workplace that does not offer a retirement savings plan currently? Okay, so most of you here actually have a retirement plan. All right, but hopefully this is of interest to all of you. So this morning, I'm going to talk about a little bit about the retirement landscape in Maine, but mostly about what is merit, what it means for employers, and what it means for employees in Maine. Talk a little bit about our implementation schedule. I'm going to answer some frequently asked questions, and then I'm going to answer your questions, which may be among the frequently asked and may not be. So I tend to get a lot of questions, and I look forward to that. The reason the Maine legislature started this program, as Shanna said, in 2021, the legislation was signed, was because there is a 41% gap of Mainers who do not have access to a workplace retirement plan. And that's actually pretty consistent across the country. We're not an outlier in that, but it is a concern as people get older and do not have the resources for a dignified and pleasant retirement. So many states across the country have started state-based auto IRA retirement plans. So there are some active programs. We're going to be among them in January. And then those on the right side who are just getting started, most of them have RFPs out or are just getting their programs underway, and more to come. So really the heart of this. Who is merit for? So for employers who do not offer a retirement plan, who have 5 or more employees and have been in business 2 years. Companies that meet those characteristics will be required to register with merit. It is for employees who are employed in Maine. So if you're a multi-state employer, it will only involve your employees who are in Maine. They must be 18 years or older. That's unfortunately a federal requirement to open the plan. And they must have a social security number. Again, a federal requirement, not one that we're putting on this. So if you have any of those types of plans that are listed, you're exempt. You do not need to participate or register with merit. You may need to register your exemption, and I will get to that in a few minutes. But basically any type of qualified retirement plan, your 401A, your 401K, your 403B, all the letters and numbers. What merit is an automatic enrollment plan for employees. So the participation is voluntary for the employee. They can opt out at any time. This is set up as a public-private partnership. We are partnering with Vestwell, which is a fintech company. They actually happen to run the state's 529 plan. That is just in some ways by chance, except that they're very active in sort of the state-based financial products type programs. And they are running all but 2 of the other programs that were identified as active currently. And our goal is to make it as simple as possible for both the employers and the employees. So the employer's role, they must only facilitate the program. So there's no cost to the employer to participate in our program. It is a fast and easy enrollment. And our goal is to work with the payroll processors, since so many of you all rely on your payroll processors to help you get your payroll right. We understand that relationship is important, and we've been making a big effort to work with payroll processors. And Vestwell has a special program to work with payroll processors to develop integrations to make this as seamless as possible. The employers need to register on the portal. They will then send contributions, and then they must do ongoing maintenance as employees make changes, or perhaps they have a new employee or an employee has left. So that would be the ongoing maintenance. Basically, any maintenance that you would do on your normal payroll merit will include. Some more details. The employees are enrolled automatically in a Roth IRA. 5% of their wages will be automatically withdrawn with each paycheck. That amount will increase 1% each year up until it reaches 10%. And the default investment will be a capital preservation fund for the first 30 days, and then a target date suite of funds. The employee can opt out of any of those choices. They can change the percentage of their wages. They can choose to have 0. So they can opt out completely. They can choose to have a contribution of 6, 7, 8%, whatever they choose. They can choose to opt out of the auto escalation, and there will be a limited choice of investment options that the employees will be able to choose among and mix and match however they believe it's best suited for them. So this is the nitty gritty. This is the complicated slide. I hope you can see it, but of how it works. And this is where employers also who do already offer a retirement plan may come in, this merit may affect them. So starting in late January, all employers in the state of Maine who, according to Department of Labor data, have been in business 2 years and have had an annual average of 5 or more employees during the past year will receive a letter from the program. Now, we're going to do a match of that data against 5,500 forms. So if you offer a 401k and you have filed your 5,500 form, hopefully we're going to exempt you without any action on your part. But you may receive a letter. And if you do, you will need to go online and register your exemption. So that's a pretty quick process. You go in line, you put in the access code that's in your letter, and then you hit one radio button saying, I want to register my exemption, and another saying the reason you're exempt, and then you're done. So under 5 minutes. For employers who do not offer a retirement plan, they are also going to receive that letter or email, and they will be told to go to the portal to register. They will choose to register. They will enter their basic information about the company and their banking, and then they will upload a roster of their eligible employees into the portal. That can be manually entered. It can be a bulk upload on the spreadsheet. There is a spreadsheet template available on the website to make that as easy as possible. And then the employee's done for the next 30 days. During those 30 days, the program will be reaching out to all of the employees who are uploaded. In that 30-day period, the employees will hear from the program 3 times saying, you're being enrolled in this program and you can please go online and make your choices. You can opt out. Again, all the choices I mentioned earlier, the employee is advised of those choices and encouraged to take some action. The employees during those 30-day period makes their decisions. They can do nothing. They can keep the standard choices. They can customize their account, or they can opt out completely. Then after the 30 days, the employer will again hear from the program and will say, here is your list of employees who are now registered with Merit and the amount that they wish to contribute into their retirement, into their IRA account. And the employer will start making those contributions. Just to give you a quick look at how quick and easy, this is basically a screenshot of the portal. So you can see it's a pretty quick process. Step 1, the company info. Step 2, payroll setup. Step 3, payment setup, add the employees. And that's the screen where you would add the employees either through bulk or manual. You can have different members of your management team. So you can always invite your payroll manager if that's something that they encourage. And I know many payroll providers in Maine are encouraging that and working with their clients. They can add other teammates, an HR manager, and all of those who are added as teammates can access and edit the payroll and all of the employee information. The key dates for Merit, we just started the pilot two weeks ago. So we have now 12 of your peers are registered in Merit currently. One more will join today. And they have been giving us excellent feedback. So we're really grateful for the pilot companies that have worked with us to see that the portal is working properly and any hangups that they might have during the registration process. So we're learning from that and refining. So that process is currently in place. And the first employees will have contributions taken out in about 2 to 3 weeks. January 2024, Merit becomes available to all employers across the state. The first deadline, April 30, 2024. Employers of 15 or more employees will need to be registered with Merit. And June 30, 2024, employers of 5 or more employees will need to be registered with Merit. So some quick, frequent answers to some frequently asked questions, and then we'll get to your questions. So the first one I get all the time, what about seasonal employees? So seasonal employees do count toward your count of 5 or more employees, and it's an annual average. But you do not need to register an employee until they have worked for you for 120 days. So that will be up to the employer. If you know that you're going to have people working just for 90 days and you choose not to register them, that is okay. Or else you can onboard employees from day 1 with your regular onboarding process, so you don't have to have a special process for those employees. So again, 120 days, after 120 days, they will need to be registered. So if you have someone who you think will be working for less, but they end up staying with you longer, that by that 120th day, they should be registered with Merit. Part-time employees also will count toward the 5 employees and will need to be registered. And again, part of the goal is to give this an opportunity for retirement savings to individuals who don't always have it. And that often includes seasonal and part-time employees, which is why we want to make sure that they are included. And it will also include temporary employees if they are W-2 employees. So if they're a 1099 employee, if you're paying them as a contractor, not an employee, they are not counted. But if they are a W-2 employee, then they do count. So many 401k and other plans of that type have requirement for participating in the program. It might not be open to a part-time employee, or it might not be open to people who haven't worked at a company until they've been there a year. Those companies are still exempt. So if you don't offer your qualified retirement plan to all of your employees, as long as you offer it to some employees, you are an exempt employer. You are the business owner. You count and need to be registered if you have taken W-2 wages. So if you purely are paid with distributions, then you don't. So there's a little nuance there for the business owners. And employees who opt out can opt back in at any time. So that will be up to them. They might say, I can't really afford this now, but I will be able to, or they determine a few months later that they can, or they see that their sister's in the program and they're like, oh, it's making sense. Let me try to do that. So they can opt back in after whenever they choose. And that's the basics, the nuts and bolts. So, and I'm happy to take any questions. I'll run around and capture them.
What happens to, I'm over here. What happens to employers that don't comply?
All right, so employers who have not complied there is an enforcement mechanism, and that will be run by the Attorney General's office and will not start until 2025. So, but there are actually statutory fines that are set up per employee. So for the first year, you don't comply, it's one amount, and then it gets higher for each year that you fail to comply. But I don't like to talk about that because our goal is to get every employer either exempted or registered. But thank you for asking. No, it's a fair question. Thank you for asking.
I'm going to come over there in just a second. And it's snowing out. If anyone saw my boggled face, some of us find joy in this. I'm one of them. So if you're with me, yay, it's snowing out. And for the rest of you, I'm really sorry to come see me in July and August. I'll head over there after we get this question and then John's question.
Sir.
Thank you. For the record, I'm not happy that it's snowing. So thank you for the presentation. Very informative. I assume the websites are the best places to go to find more information as it comes out, but specifically to defining an employee. I know a lot of small businesses, the part-time, full-time employee information, the frequently asked was helpful, but a lot of people do 1099s and, subcontracting. And these are people who realistically do work for maybe one person year round, but they're not necessarily a W-2 employee. They get a 1099 at the end of the year. How do these employees, fall into this program, and how should these employers be prepared to either help them or have to opt out, or how would that work?
Right. Beth, can I put a tail on that just so you can answer that comprehensively?
Mhm.
If you work with 1099 workers, is there a way for them to opt in? So not just the kind of the requirement side, but the flip side of that coin, where some of these individuals who maybe work for an employer, aren't eligible with the employer, aren't required to be, can they still invest?
Yes.
And what are the requirements? Both and.
Yes. So I'll answer Shana's question first, because that's where I was going to go with the answer in the first place. So any individual can choose to participate in the program as an individual. And then they would set up a deduction from their bank account rather than a payroll deduction. So they can have a weekly or monthly, whatever suits them, amount deducted from their bank account. So they can do that. I will say the employer really has no role in that. The employer can mention to that individual that that's an opportunity for them, but they have no requirement to facilitate that for a 1099 employee.
Thank you, David. Sorry, I ran across the room, but did that cover you? Great. John first, and then we'll go.
Hi, I had a question about the seasonality. Is that, you said 120 days, is that like each year, or if I'm a seasonal worker, every summer I go back to the same place for my 4 months, do I have to hit 120 days each year?
You do have to hit 120 days each year, but really you identify a situation that we would really like to be able to see employees have the opportunity to participate. So we know that there are a lot of people who work in Maine and they have one job for 4 months in the summer and maybe another job for 4 months in the winter. And it would be great if we can capture them, because this account is portable. So if you're working for a merit employer in the summer and a different merit employer in the winter, your funds are going to go into that same account. So in that case, again, the employer is not obligated to, but they certainly can register that person. And then, of course, when they come back on board the second summer, their elections will all be in place. They're not going to need to wait 30 days. They'll be able to start contributing right away. So again, this is a balance that we're trying to meet the needs of seasonal employers, but also hopefully help employees.
I have two questions. As a small business owner, what happens if the employee level falls below 5? Once I'm in, or is there a waiver exception is question one. And question two, because I was going to ask the same thing about the seasonal employee. What if I have 2 jobs and my full-time job offers a 401k and my second doesn't? Am I required to participate in my second job, or can I, as an individual, apply for a waiver?
All right, you're expecting a lot of me to remember 2 questions, but I'm going to do my best. So if you drop below 5, you can, as an employer, stop making the contributions at that point if that's what you choose to do. So you are, according to the rule, supposed to notify the program, but we know that that number is going to fluctuate. It could be you're below 5 because your new employee starting in 3 weeks who's replacing the one who left. So at that point, it doesn't make a lot of sense to, stop and then start. And so we know that there will be that fluctuation and employers can make their choice. All right, now I have to remember the second question.
I think the second question was, if I am employed in a full-time job with a
Right.
merit employer, and then in my second job, they're not a merit employer, what does that mean for me? And what's that mean for my second employer?
So this is employer by employer. So if you have your one job and you're getting your 401k, that's great. And then you have your second job and your employer is a merit employer, and then you can choose to open the auto IRA, or the employer will register you and you can say, I'm already have this opportunity with my first job, and so I'm choosing to opt out. So that will be completely in the decision of the employee.
You did a great job with 2 questions there, Beth. It's not easy. John's going to get you. I appreciate you looking at me, but he's right there.
Is there any recourse back against the employers for not participating in this program?
So the recourse against the employers who fail to register as they are required to do under the law will face some enforcement action and fines based on their employee level. So the Maine Attorney General's office is tasked with enforcing this in the legislation, and there are specific fines that are set out in the legislation.
And where can we see those?
On those websites? Beth?
No, I do not highlight the fines on the website, I have to say. So if you want to, I can get them to, you can read it is available in the legislation, and actually the legislation is at mainsaves.org. It's also meritsaves.org. So if you go to the .org site, which is the site for the board of directors, that's where you can attend board meetings virtually, read our board minutes, see who our board members are. That site also has the legislation, which has the fines, but you can also just come up to me afterwards, give me your card, and I will just send you an email with that information.
If you send me or Katie, who you coordinated with today, an email, I'll make sure it goes out to everybody who registered and
Okay.
all of the folks who regularly attend but might not be here today too.
Okay.
I have one other question. Has it been determined the financial services firms are going to be handling the investments?
Yes. So again, Vestwell is our program administrator and manager. The actual Roth IRAs or a traditional IRA, if an employee so chooses, will be handled at BNY Mellon. So they will be the record keeper, and they are a huge custodian. The investment choices are largely State Street Global Advisors. So it's a State Street Global Advisors suite of target date funds, State Street Global Advisors bond fund, and a money market run by State Street. And there is an international equity fund that is run by BlackRock.
Thank you. I have another question here. And John, if you want to go to Patrick Penley over here, he had his hand up as our next one.
Good morning. You mentioned that there is currently there are organizations taking part in a pilot.
Yes.
Are you still accepting organizations if they were interested to get in early?
Sadly, no. We actually did so well. We were oversubscribed for the pilot already. So I love that question. And I will say that the site will be available in January, and the site to look at, it is live now because of course the pilot is underway. It is meritsaves.com, and that is the portal. So you can look there, and if you want to get in early, you might be able to go there in January, but it is important to have that access code, which is going to come by mail or email to register if you want to. So those will be ready in mid-January.
Thank you, Patrick.
My question revolves around maximum contributions to retirement plans.
Mhm.
So is it going to be the responsibility of the employee
It
if
will
they
be-
have, a regular full-time job and then they have a second job? Because there's maximum contributions each year.
Right, that is correct. And so for our program, we will be monitoring that. So no one will be allowed to go over the maximum in our program. However, if you're participating through multiple programs, then it is up to the employee to keep track of any maximums. And there is going to be a difference. Most workplace plans are not going to be a Roth IRA. And so depending on your income level, you might actually be able to participate in both. But that, again, that will be determined by the employee.
So just a clarifying question, as you mentioned that, and thank you, Patrick, because I think it's not just the maximum of like 10% that the merit lets you put in, but in the scenario where my day job gives me a normal traditional 401k and it's not through merit, and I'm giving 8% over there, and then I have a summer job for 5 months and I get enrolled in a merit, it's the maximum annual per individual and how that's coordinated. And you're saying, just so I'm clear, you're saying that merit will handle that per person through merit, but will not be coordinating merit's total contributions in combination with an independent retirement plan and how that relates to my individual maximum contribution over the year.
That is correct, right? We won't have that data. And frankly, the state doesn't necessarily want to have that data about what you're contributing in your other plan.
Well, the IRS wants it, so they're gonna keep track for all of us. I think I have one last question, unless anyone's burning, and we can maybe take one more.
I'll be quick, but as the employee, is there a way for us to be in touch with like a fund manager and choose how we're invested in these? Or is this completely out of the employee's hands at that point?
So as an employee, you'll have just the few investment options that I mentioned. So you just that are in the program. So as an employee, you'll be able to invest in any of the 5 or any combination of the 5 investment options in the program. And that is all that is available. And we will offer some tools for financial education, mostly through the Finance Authority of Maine, which offers a real variety of financial education tools. So if people want to learn more, they'll have that opportunity through that link.
And just to put a fine point on Seth's question. So it sounds like an individual employee has a number of options, but among them is not the ability to talk to a person about which of those might be best suited for their own retirement needs.
That is correct.
And that some of that education might be available through FAME.
Right.
Okay, great. You're welcome. Thank you. It was a great question. Any other questions? I want to say thank you to Beth. Please join me. Those are good questions. I appreciate the questions we had today. Beth, I poured this for you. Please, here.
Oh,
there you go.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah.
And thank you, everyone. And if you have more questions, ask.
Yeah, and I would say to the gentleman who said, "How do I learn more?" I'm gonna make sure you know. These deadlines, I'll be tracking these deadlines. You'll be hearing from us over the coming months that the deadlines are approaching, the information as it comes out. And those of you, not only who registered today, but are always in our breakfast. There's a breakfast group we maintain, give you additional communications. You'll get these slides and those kind of click through links in the follow-up that should come out today or tomorrow. So